Today we're doing a little bit of an overview of the Jackery lineup of products. They've sent over several samples for us to kind of take a peek at. A lot of these are an extremely good value right now with the sales they have going on. So make sure you check those links in the description to see what the current pricing is of all these different units. Now the panels we're using to top off the power stations include this Solar Saga 500, which is actually a really unique design. I have not seen any other company that makes panels like this, but it just folds up, and the way these hinges work, they actually stop at that angle right there, and that allows you to lay this down, and you're supposed to lay it down east to west so that when the sun comes up, it's absorbing on these three panels, and as it's going down it gets the other three. So kind of a cool design. The Solar Saga 500 is bifacial, in case you didn't see it, so it is able to get some absorption from the back side of the panel. And you can put stakes in the corners to keep it from blowing away. Now over here we have a 200 watt panel. This is going to work with some of the smaller power stations, and we've actually been really impressed with the output of this, and I think that bifacial aspect really improves that. Now over here we have another Solar Saga 500, but these panels are still independent from one another, and they've actually specifically advertised that as a use case. You can hang these on a balcony or lay them out like we have them now. You don't have to use the hinges, but if you do, then you can have it in that configuration over there. Now Jackery does have alternate versions of quite a few of these units, so make sure you check out the links in the description for the Plus models. At the end of the video, Ole is going to show us the features of the Explorer 300, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But for now, we're going to take a look at the Explorer 1000. This unit is able to take in up to 400 watts of solar via the two DC 8020 ports right here. We have a standard AC input port right there that can bring in up to a max of 15 amps. You can see we also have a nice carry handle as well as a light. The AC ports have a continuous output of 1500 watts, one USB-A, two USB-C, and a DC 10 amp accessory plug. So this is a very capable unit, especially good value right now on Prime Day. Now there's a Plus version of this that can take in up to 800 watts of solar, so you may want to consider that as well. And we've got it plugged into our 200 watt bifacial panel, and we're bringing in 164 watts right now. Up next we have the Jackery Explorer 2000. So this is 2 kilowatt hours instead of the 1 kilowatt hour of its little brother. It also has 400 watts of solar input via the same two DC 8020 ports. You can see we're bringing in 395 watts of solar right now, and it's plugged into our two Solar Saga 500 panels, 3 AC outlet ports up to 2200 watts, and we've got a USB-A, two USB-C, and a DC 12 volt accessory socket. On the top of the unit we do have that carry handle again. Now there's a Plus version of this, or a Pro version of this, that can bring in up to 1400 watts. Now moving on down to this Home Power 3000. This is a little bit of a different category, different branding that they've got going on for this one. Has the same two DC 8020 ports for solar, and we're able to bring in actually up to 1000 watts of solar with this guy. Now the AC inverter is much stronger at 3600 watts, and we have a TT30 plug right there, so you can plug your camper into this, and it works fantastic. I've tested this and made a full video on this unit, so if you're interested in that, I'll put that card right here at the top of the screen. This is actually a really good option for essential home backup. You can connect, like I said, 1000 watts of solar to it and be able to operate your refrigerator or other essential devices during an outage. Definitely a pretty capable unit. You can see we've got 4 standard 120 volt plugs, 2 USB-A, 2 USB-C, and a 12 volt accessory socket. Finally, we get to the top of the line, and this is the Explorer 5000 Plus. This unit really gets me excited, mostly because of what's going on over here on this side of the unit. We have 2 DC 8020 ports again. You can see there's a common theme with that. Jackery does a pretty good job at making their solar panels universal for their units, except for when it comes to some of the smaller ones. The DC 8020 port in particular, I'm not a huge fan of. I'd rather have probably an XT60, but they've done a pretty good job with the implementation of it. Anyway, With these two DC8020s, we can bring in up to 1,200 watts of solar. Now next to those DC8020s, we've got two MC4 connectors, and that's because this is bringing in high voltage DC, up to 450 volts and 4,000 watts max is what we're able to bring in here. So if you take our 4,000 watts plus our 1,200, we're at 5,200 watts theoretical maximum that we can bring into this thing. It's got this isolator switch right here, and this is really important because when you're dealing with high voltage DC, there's actually a pretty big arc that can occur when you're disconnecting and connecting that voltage. So it requires a disconnect like this. You never want to be plugging and unplugging your solar while it's under load. Another useful thing to know about the Plus units is that they often will have DC expansion ports, meaning that you can add additional batteries to the units. All of the units we already showed you over there are not expandable because they're not Plus units. So if you do want that ability to stack additional batteries with it, you're going to want to opt for a Plus. On the front of the unit, we've got two 100 watt USB-C, two USB-A, 4 standard 120 volt 20 amp receptacles, and an accessory plug. Now on this side of the unit, we've got a couple of really useful ports. We have a NEMA 1450 50 amp 240 volt receptacle. Right above that 1450 plug, we've got a L1430. So this is a locking receptacle. This is a very common one for power inlet boxes. A lot of generators are starting to have that type of plug, but these are both 240 volts, which is just super nice to have on a power station. Until you get to the larger power stations, you typically are not going to have access to that 240 volt feature. Up here we have an AC expansion port, and that's where we can connect our smart transfer switch, which is something that I intend to do. I intend to bring a bunch of solar into this guy and then connect this to the smart transfer switch and then begin feeding some more significant loads.
This is the Jackery Explorer 300. This has a lithium-ion battery versus the lithium-ion phosphate. A few less cycles, but it's still a very versatile power station. As you can see, we have your solar input. I think this is up to 80 watts. Here we have an in-out PD 60 watt USB-C port, two USB-A ports. You have two 120 volt ports, and those are 300 watts. Not a ton, but enough to do some stuff. And then you have a 12 volt, 10 amp car socket port. So that's about it for ports, but we'll charge it up the last % with the 200 watt panel. All right, so we're gonna plug in the solar, and I forgot to mention that there are other options that are LFP and a little bit nicer, bigger power stations. But this one, it's a really good deal. You just gotta check out, link description below. You can see right there, I'm not getting a ton right now.
31 watts?
30 watts. And so the Jackery Explorer 300 comes with the manual, comes with a car charging cord. So this essentially goes into your DC input. And then you have an AC wall charging. This goes into your DC port too.
Now, depending on what you need a power station for, that's really going to determine which one of these you should consider buying. The Explorer 1000 is a great value, but if you want to actually be able to bring more solar into any of the units, you're definitely going to want to consider the Pro or the Plus versions of them. So hopefully that gives you a good general overview of what Jackery has available today. Check those links out in the description, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one. Thanks, Oli, for helping us out too.
Yeah.
See you guys.